This is Standing Watch. And now, Evangelist Norbert Link.
Greetings everyone, and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. I decided not to address the issue everybody is talking about these days, the ongoing demonstrations and riots regarding President Trump's immigration policy. We have been discussing these things in our new current events, which is coming out tonight. Some of you will receive it tomorrow morning, our new update. We'll go into the developments in great detail, and I will talk about this in the future because this issue is not going to go away. This is going to increase. And as we see, America is destroying itself from the inside. We also should see a development in Europe where ultimately Europe will destroy America from the outside. Now that is something which most people just do not understand. And because they don't understand it, they don't look at the alarming developments over there in that country, in that region. And when I say country, I specifically am referring to Germany. To begin with, I want to tell you that in Germany they are talking about again reintroducing compulsory military service. But this is not an isolated issue, as I will show you. It's part of a game plan, which we need to understand. DPA wrote on June 6. The head of the organization that represents Germany's armed forces personnel has called for the reintroduction of compulsory military service. André Wüstner from the Bundeswehr Association said on Friday that Germany's new coalition government should start laying the groundwork now for the possible reintroduction of conscription. He expressed doubts that it would be possible to recruit up to 60,000 additional men and women for active duty on a voluntary basis alone. He added that he could almost predict that a review would be necessary in the middle of the legislative period, and that a switch to some form of compulsory military service would then be necessary. Defense Minister Boris Pistorius had recently made it clear on several occasions that the voluntary nature of military service agreed by the coalition only applies if the demand can be met in this way. And it cannot. There is no way it can be met. Die Tagesschau reported on June 7. The new parliamentary commissioner for the armed forces, Henning Otte, has fundamentally spoken out in favor of conscription in Germany. He will put the reinstatement of compulsory military service on the agenda again this year. The chairman of the German Reservists Association, Patrick Sensburg, also called for a return to conscription. And so, as we have been telling you, compulsory military service is coming, even though many Germans don't want to believe it. Every time I talk about this, I'm getting responses, oh, well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen anytime soon. They are so wrong. T-Online wrote on June 11. The debate about reintroducing conscription is gaining momentum across party lines. Former federal foreign minister and Green Party politician Joschka Fischer, you might still remember Joschka Fischer, has now spoken out in favor of returning conscription in an interview and regretted his earlier opposition. The CDU, CSU and SPD have agreed in the coalition agreement to initially introduce voluntary military service. However, calls for a return to conscription are growing louder. High-ranking Bundeswehr generals have been warning for some time, privately and now increasingly publicly, that the Bundeswehr will hardly reach its target through voluntary service alone. The Minister-President of Schleswig-Holstein, Daniel Günther, told the magazine Stern, The planned voluntary military service is not enough. Norbert Röttgen, deputy chairman of the CDU-CSU parliamentary group, made a similar statement, calling for a formulation in the Pistorius Act that would provide for the event that not enough volunteers can be found. Conscription could be brought back by a simple legislative majority, that is, conscription for men. That is, by a majority of the CDU, CSU and SPD. The debate within the CDU, CSU, SPD coalition is likely to be interesting. While the CDU, CSU is openly committed to conscription, notice this, they are committed to conscription. The SPD is divided on the issue. However, it appears that social democratic pragmatists like Pistorius, who is part of the SPD, who would be open to conscription, remain in the minority for now. Key SPD positions, such as parliamentary group leader Mirsch and General Secretary Tim Klüssendorf, are occupied by SPD leftists who oppose conscription. And SPD leader Lars Klingbeil, although a pragmatist, is not known for contradicting the left wing on sensitive issues. Mirsch just said in an interview that there will be no negotiations on a possible return to conscription during this legislative period. Whether the CDU-CSU will stick to this remains to be seen, and in fact that will have to be seen because the leftists and the SPD, they are against conscription, mandatory conscription in Germany, are against that because of their Russian-friendly position. And they are saying, okay, if we are now introduce conscription, we have a huge big Bundeswehr and there could be a threat to Russia. They have just come up with a strategy paper, and critics have said, well, Putin could have written that for them. But you see, as bad as it is, mandatory military service is just one piece of the puzzle. It's not to be looked upon as an isolated event. I found the following article quite interesting. It was published by OEMA. You might not have heard of OEMA before. It seems to be a Greek publication. But they wrote the following on June 5. Germany in 2025 is changing. Under the leadership of Chancellor Friedrich Merz, the country is undergoing the most radical reorientation of its military policy since the end of World War II. Merz's goal is clear: to turn the Bundeswehr into the strongest conventional military force in Europe. This statement, as noted in an article by The Economist, is not merely symbolic. It reflects Berlin's new self-confidence and its intention, now listen carefully, to assume a leadership role in European security. At a time when Russia is once again threatening the continent and the United States is no longer seen as a guaranteed defender of Europe. The most striking evidence of this shift was a military ceremony on May 22 in Vilnius. For the first time since 1945, German armored units were permanently stationed abroad, forming the Lithuania Brigade. The symbolic weight of this move is immense. For decades, German politicians avoided such actions, but today the facts are changing. Merz and the Defense Ministry have pledged to dramatically increase the defense budget in order to renew the arsenal, boost readiness, and fill personnel gaps. At the same time, the industrial sector is being strengthened, the sector of the industry. New orders for Leopard tanks, missile systems, electronic defense systems are activating German defense manufacturers. At the core of the strategy lies a desire for strategic autonomy, not only for Germany, but for all of Europe. What's clear is that Germany is not merely aiming for defense sufficiency. It seeks a strategic role, power, and influence within Europe's security architecture. And if Merz's plan succeeds, Berlin will not only be able to defend itself, but also lead Europe, both politically and militarily. Germany's new military might is no longer a ghost of the past. It's a foundation of a different geopolitical reality unfolding before our eyes. And indeed it is. And you see how all fits together. We've been telling you, I don't know how long, that ultimately Europe under German leadership is going to attack the United States of America. Most people don't see that, don't understand biblical prophecy, but the Bible is very clear. We have prepared a free book that's the rise and fall of Germany and Europe. This book that gives you the proof from the Bible, if you want to understand the proof. So we keep you informed. We will keep you informed because these developments are striking. And what this article I've just read points out is almost prophetic, because this is exactly what the Bible tells you. So thank you very much for listening. This is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.
Standing Watch is a presentation by The Church of the Eternal God, P.O. Box 270519, San Diego, California 92198. More information is also available at our website, eternalgod.org.